Yeah.
It looks like we are live. I'm just gonna go ahead and make sure that we are. Yep. All right. So let's go ahead and get this started. Oh, hey, Mary. I'm just gonna switch your name real quick.
Uh,
Mary Martinez Adrian.
uh, we're live, Adrian.
All right. And welcome everybody to the BME Live podcast. My name is Adrian Mendoza, as you can see here with my fancy name title. Above me is Mary Martinez, the founder of the BME Life as well. And to my right or left, we have Brenda Carrillo, one of the most amazing students from UTSA's BME class of 2020 and a really great friend of ours. Actually, to anybody watching, if you've been around for a while and you saw the Makeathon story, Brenda Carrillo was part of Mary's Makeathon team. And together, they won second place in a
Yeah.
competition where they had to design, like a medical device. They were competing with 13 schools from all over the nation. It was held at UTSA. There's a full 30-minute documentary, so you guys should check that out. Brenda is awesome. And so today, as you guys can see from the title of the video, we are talking about Brenda's experience as an international student. And both Brenda and Mary are BME 2020 graduates. And the amazing thing about Brenda is that she was able to find a job in, like almost right after graduating, which was just barely maybe a month ago, right? So
Yeah, June. Mhm.
yeah, so it's crazy. We want to hear her story, but also her experience being an international student from Mexico. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get this started. Mary, is there anything you'd like to say before we get started?
yes. So, we are very honored, first of all, to have Brenda. Like Adrian said, Brenda is an amazing person. She's one of my closest friends that I met in the BME program. Uh, I've said this several times already, but if anyone hasn't heard it yet, Brenda is a very humble, bright person. Like she's so smart and like but I think her biggest attribute is like always being open to helping people, and I really admire that from Brenda, and just like her, just like the way she thinks, it's just crazy, and like she's really creative, really smart. So we wanted to bring her. And other than that, she's also had a lot of experience during her undergrad career. Like she did research lab, she did internships, she did like school organizations, like leadership positions. So she's done it all. She's well-rounded person, and I always get questions on Instagram or YouTube or whatever, and I think today we'll be able to get a lot of those answered. And I think Brenda is probably the best person we could have gotten to just give her experience, her side of, yeah, just like her experience, what she's seen during her undergrad as well as after graduating. So, Brenda, we're very happy to have you.
Thank you.
And the first thing we're going to ask you is just to talk about your journey. Like we mentioned that we're both from Mexico originally, so that's really cool. But, we all have different backgrounds. So we'd like to just listen to how your journey from Mexico to the US was.
Sure. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm honored as well to be here. And yeah, I moved to the US in 2012. I was, I think, 14. And I moved from central Mexico, which is not many people around town, around San Antonio, moved from that area. But it's a small town, and usually most of the people that work, I mean, that live there, work in the in the city, in Mexico City, which is around 30 minutes from that town. And just because of job related reasons, my family uh, decided to move over here, San Antonio, because my dad got a offer of, in the airport. And yeah, after a little while, all of my family came over here, and that being my mom and siblings, and of course my dad. And it was a pretty unexpected move. Just life sometimes changes plans. And I started high school over here in San Antonio, 2 years at one high school, 2 other years at another high school. And after a while, before I knew it, it was time for college. And UTSA, since it was really close and it was in San Antonio, seemed like a good option for my conditions. And whenever I got in there, it was pretty interesting. No one in my family had ever been to an American college. We didn't have anyone else that was over here and could give us a little bit of help or guidance. But it was definitely interesting to just being pioneers in here in the US. So um, when I got into UTSA, I would have never imagined to do any of the things that I did now that 4 years later, right? That
Mhm.
probably you and I look back to those years that we were at UTSA and they flew by and we don't know how like what I
How we
mean?
made it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
how we made it. It's crazy. It's
Yeah.
crazy. But overall, how I would describe my journey is it's just life changes, like right now. Do you
Yeah.
make plans? Life throws some things at you, and you got to have an open mind to accept those changes and just work hard and do what you can to get what you want to succeed in the end. And another thing that summarizes my journey is that you may have an idea of what you think is best for you and what you think your life will be like, but as things change, um, that also can change, and you have to have an open mind to see that another thing might be good for you, right? Maybe you thought you would stay somewhere all your life and you would get a big house, something like that, but maybe that is still true, but in another place, or just different examples like that. And yeah, whenever I entered to UTSA, I actually wasn't an engineering student. I entered as a biology student because all of my life I thought I wanted to be a doctor. You know how everyone wants you to be a doctor.
Yeah.
If you're especially if you're a woman, they tell you, oh, you're pretty caring, or oh, you're pretty. I don't know, if you like science and you're a woman, they want you to be a doctor for some reason.
Yes.
And I thought that would be for me as well, because I cared a lot about people. Like medicine and biology fascinating me. Like the human body is crazy still to me. But like I said, plans change, and soon I understood that as a non-citizen, studying medical school, at least studying medicine, at least in my position, would be not very ideal. There were too many unknowns, and at that time, I thought, well, yes, I always said I would be a doctor, but it's also not a huge passion for me. I could have still done it, but at the same time, I feel like I could be happy with anything else, right? As long as it fit my needs and um my goals. So I didn't know when I changed into engineering major, I didn't know what engineering was. But I thought I was in one of my biology labs, and two of my teammates in my table, you see how there's a big table, like two
Mhm.
chairs on one side, two chairs on the other side. Um, Two of them were biomedical engineering majors, and they were
Oh.
saying how, yeah, they were saying, oh yes, I want to go to medical school, but I'm doing engineering as my backup. And I thought, wow, that's crazy. As your backup, okay. And then another was another one was like, oh, I mean, she just like engineering, so and biology, so that's why she chose biomedical engineering. And in those days, it was my first semester. I kept thinking, okay, what should I do? And I thought, okay, that makes sense. Biology, engineering. I like math. I like biology. Let's just pick that major.
Mhm.
And somehow things work out. it's not, it's not that bad. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
That's
yeah.
yeah. No,
Go ahead.
that's awesome getting to hear from literally the start to literally you didn't go directly into biomedical engineering, biology,
Mm,
but in one of your classes there were some BMEs and you were like, hey, you know what, that sounds cool, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm just wondering, how so you and your family didn't have the intention, like, or you at least didn't have the intention of wanting to study in the United States, right?
No, I mean, as a person that watches in Mexico, that watches American movies and things like that, you always think, oh, wouldn't it be nice to study in the US? That's so, I would love that, right? But it's one of those dreams that you have that you don't really expect to come true, you know? It's like some random thing like, oh, I want to go to the moon, or I don't know, something like that. So yeah, things changed. And my parents' work situation changed. My dad got an offer over here, and I mean they had a stable life over there. It was tough, but it was stable. But my
Yeah,
parents decided to make the decision to move, um, because they thought it would be better for us as their children, better opportunities, better quality of life, more security. And yeah, something that I didn't mention, but something that it's always on my mind when I think about that transition is that my mom actually had to quit her career. She had a really successful career in an airline company. She was just getting where she wanted to be, and then she decided, okay, well, this is how life is right now. I have to make a decision, and she decided to stop her career and have everyone move over here. And
No,
that's, yeah, that to me has been an
it's tough.
example since day one. Like that's a sacrifice, and mm,
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know.
We gotta give it up for our parents who make
Yeah.
sacrifices for us to be able to do these things and to be able to advance their education, and especially in a foreign country. And I just wanted to ask real quick, from anybody
Yeah.
watching live, if you guys are from another country that's not the United States, we would love to know where you're from and where you're watching from. And also, if you have any questions, feel free to comment them. We'll be able to see them and maybe even feature your question on the live stream. So, but Brenda, that's a really cool, awesome story. So, you're a BME student, or you were a BME student. What would you
That's
say,
crazy.
um, or Mary, unless there's anything else you wanted to add? I was going to move into like what her challenges were, but is there anything else?
Um, no, I think it's good to move on, but I guess I just want to say that, when Brenda was talking about just like looking at the US as a dream, like I totally related to that because I remember watching movies and like seeing people, well, I don't know, like I don't know if it was just a thing in my city, but maybe you can relate to that. I would watch movies and see middle school kids down the hallways with lockers and like a
Yeah.
cafeteria and prom and all these things, and they just seemed so crazy. Like it's
Hmm.
like it just seemed, and it's always like a movie. And yeah, so I totally relate to that. What you were saying, that coming from a different country, it's definitely crazy once you get here for the first time.
Hmm.
It's a hard transition. And like also when you were saying like you were the first one to go to an American college, like that, I can also like definitely relate to that. And my sister, I think she's watching, or at least she commented. But if she's watching, she's actually thanked me before because, when we came here, like, I had to learn about FAFSA and like how to apply for
Oh,
scholarships, how to apply for college, even like SATs, all those things. Like, people here in the US, they'll just ask their parents, but we don't have anyone to ask because like we're so
mhm.
new to this and like there's no one with that experience. So yeah, I just wanted to say that I really related to those things that you said, and I'm sure a lot of people relate to
Yeah,
that too. Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, well, I mean that's really awesome to hear. I can't relate fully with you guys because I was born in the United States and studied here, but my parents are from Mexico. So, kind of have that common ground. But it's just really inspiring. If I can say anything, like I'm always really inspired to hear stories like Brenda's or Mary's. So, I think right now somebody watching in Europe or Brazil or you know South America, Asia in general, from anywhere, Africa, I think there's a lot of people that can be inspired watching your story. And now going into the next topic, which I want to talk about what your biggest challenges were at in your experience being at a university, coming from Mexico, coming from out of the nation. What would you say some of your biggest challenges were?
Right off the bat, I remember my first 2 years at UTSA, how you know how there's a lot of pressure for you to, as a student, to achieve certain things by this time. So you have to get learn SolidWorks by this time, or you have to get the certificate or learn this software by this time, or you have to have an internship by the time you're whatever, junior, sophomore. Um, there's a lot of things, a lot of expectations that you get as a student. Period. And one of the things that was really frustrating for me was the internship part, because right now I am able to work in the United States, but that was not the case previously. At that point, when I was a freshman of sophomore, I did not have any permission to work in the US. And what I was thinking is that I cannot get an internship. And I see how they say how it's really hard having an internship, and you must have it because no one's gonna hire someone without an internship. And that would kind of worry me. I was thinking, well, if when I graduate, then I won't be able to have any job because I won't have an internship. And sometimes I would get a lot of emails about internship opportunities, and I always knew in my heart, okay, if I open this one, it's gonna say U.S. citizen, permanent resident only. But I would open it still just in case. And I would open it, and oop, there it was, U.S. citizen, permanent resident. Like, okay, I
Oh
knew it was
man,
coming.
that's
And
crazy.
some of them didn't have that, but whenever I looked more into it, or I was talking to the person that was monitoring the position, they would ask me for certain details about me, and they were like, "Oh, well, we didn't put it there, but you need to be a citizen." So just
Mm.
having that obstacle was really frustrating, and I had a lot of, like, I don't know how to say, motivation, or a lot of drive, and a lot of um, muchas ganas. No sé cómo se dice eso. A lot of, I don't know. I just wanted to go out there and do the best, right?
Yeah,
But I didn't have the chance then, and just thinking that it was always on the back of my mind, and it was a little bit of a bummer.
you knew
But that
there.
was one of them.
Yeah, you knew you had
You
that
said what?
limitation.
Yeah, it was definitely frustrating, and the same with many scholarships. Um, and then another thing is that sometimes it felt lonely, especially in the first and second year, that I didn't like it wasn't until late sophomore year, or no, sophomore year that I met Mary and Pao, which are my closest friends from college. Um, and so before that, it felt very alienating to be a student from a different country, even though UTSA is a very largely Hispanic university. I couldn't relate to most of Hispanic people, for just because most of the people that are Mexican or Hispanic actually were born here or came over here since a really early age, and just not feeling that you could relate to people, that was kind of hard. Kind of like you show one side of yourself, but there's another side of yourself that needs some empathy or some perspective, and you don't get it. And that goes also as well with finding mentors. It was far hard for me to find mentors in school for the same reason. And also, I mean, that for the same reason, pretty much. And the third thing, which is the last major thing that I can think of, and yeah, I think it's mainly those three. But the last thing would be comparing myself to others, which goes with the first reason, finding an internship and all that. So I would compare all of my life that I came here, since I've uh, been in the US. I've compared myself to people in my high school and things like that, but not in a bad way. More of a okay, I this is where I want to be. What do I have to do, right? And I would look at people in my high school or peers, that I would look at what they are doing to be kind of more understanding of what I have to do to get where I want to be. So I would look at what a lot of people would do, and most of the time, those people were of a much higher income, or were are American, and they know. I mean, they know what they have to do. They have more resources, and that's good. But the thing is that sometimes that would frustrate me, because I wanted to do the same as they do, right? But then I cannot do it for X or Y reason, and just that sometimes it can be a little bit frustrating. But on the flip side of that, you have to think, or I what I did is that I thought of where I come from. I would have to remind myself, okay, I'm not behind anyone. I don't have to keep up. I don't have to be doing the same things that someone else is doing, because my journey is different. So it was that thing, reminding myself that my journey is different, that I don't have to be doing the same as um I don't have to achieve the same milestones as people, because my situation is different. And just constantly reminding myself of that would be a challenge, but it's definitely something I can appreciate, because it gives you patience, and it gives you a different appreciation of the journey, and makes you more grateful. So those are the big
Yeah.
three.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Yeah,
that's such a great thing. I just put it on there to remind everybody watching as well. Just put it in bold. Remind yourself that your journey is different. I don't think you could have said
yeah,
that any better because, I mean, yeah, I think, comparison is one thing. When you're like, oh shoot, he got an A, I got a B. But when you're talking about, you know, in your specific shoes. Um, how you are not from the United States, and you're here along people who are from here, who have like more resources than you, maybe, who just understand things better than you. It's you can feel behind, I guess. And
yeah,
Mary, is there anything that you
Yeah,
know
I think, yeah, that's very true. And I think it's even like more true to like be in an engineering major. I mean, I guess I don't know about other engineerings, but at least in our class, like the BME program was very competitive. Like
yeah,
you would look around and everyone's trying to compete against each other almost. It's like it's a very supportive environment, but it's also very competitive. Like, you look around and you just, I remember my first year, like, also just like comparing myself to other people and like feeling inferior, because you're almost scared of all these people that seem so smart, and like you just think I could never do that. But with time, you just realize that they had their insecurities as well. It's not just you,
Mm-hmm.
it's everyone. We all have insecurities, but at the same time, I feel like sometimes comparison can be beneficial if you use it in a right way. Like, it can motivate you to do more things.
Yeah.
I know for sure, just like by listening to our classmates, just hearing about them being in a lab, it's like, oh, what's a research lab? Like, let me look into it. And then
Yeah.
you start looking into it, and eventually you get into a research lab. So yeah, I think what you said is like really good, like to remember that we're all in different paths, and like we're not alone. And yeah, I think it was really well said.
Yeah, and I think one thing that you guys have in common too is Brenda, you originally thought you wanted to go into medical school. I know Mary as well originally thought she wanted to be like a math professor or something like that, right, Mary?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
and
Oh,
I
sorry.
just wanted to say real quick to anybody watching, maybe I mean I think a lot of people that find out about BME are still in high school, which that's great, but there might be some people in college already, maybe freshman year, that are barely finding out about BME, wondering if it's too late to switch or if it's a good major. So I kind of just want to get that question in for you guys. Like, do you feel like it affected you joining BME like late into, I mean, not late, but like not at the very beginning of college? We can start with Brenda, maybe.
Mm, I don't know about that. When I joined, it did seem to me that my peers who were already there from the beginning understood better what the major was and had already um, talked to professors about it and had a good idea of what they wanted to do. For me, I wouldn't say that it affected that I came in late too much, but in general, as many people, um, I'm sorry. So as many other people, I didn't know what BME was. And still, whenever someone asks me about my degree, people don't really know what a BME does. So I wouldn't say it affected it much. And really, I couldn't even understand it as much until I was in my junior year. Right then is where I actually understood what a BME can do and yeah, what a BME degree can work. Where can a BME degree get you? Sorry, weekends really mess up my English because I speak only Spanish at home. So yeah, it's
It's all
just
right. Don't worry
mess
about
up
it.
my English, but it's okay. So yeah, not really. That's the bottom line. What about you, Maddie?
I mean, it took me 5 years to graduate, so I think coming in late did affect me in a way. Just because my first 2 years, I was like completely undecided on what I wanted to do. Like, I had no idea what I wanted to major in until I heard about BME, and I really just came into the major like blindfolded. Like, I had no idea of what to expect. Like, just like you said, like I was just like, this sounds cool, so I'm just gonna go in and
Hmm.
see. And I think also what you said, Brenda, it's like you felt like whatever you did, you would be fine. And like, I think that's
Hmm.
also a feeling that I had, and that's something that my parents would also tell me. Like, just choose something that you're interested in, but whatever you do, like, you'll do great. And I think that's something that's nice to think. But it's not really until you get into a major that you'll see if it's for you or not. And I also totally agree that I didn't really understand BME fully until like junior or senior year. Like, it's just like there's so much into BME, and it's like so broad that it can be
Yeah.
confusing sometimes. But did it affect me coming in late? I mean, again, it took me a little longer to graduate, so I guess a little. Um, but I also agree with Brenda that, the first year is pretty tough, and I think, well, actually, it was, yeah, the first year, but specifically that first semester in BME, it can be really tough to adjust to, you're just hearing like new vocabulary and like just training your mind to think a certain way. Um, it's challenging in the beginning, but I think it's just like a matter of developing that BME muscle in your brain. And once
Yeah.
you got it, like everything becomes easier. And I don't mean that after the first semester every class is going to be easy, because that's definitely not the case. But I think you do learn with time how to do better. Like, I don't know why, but you're just, even though it's still hard, like you're still better at managing or like coping with the degree. I don't know if that
Hmm.
makes any sense, but yeah, I mean, I totally agree with Brenda with what she said.
Yeah, no, that's cool. So basically, it doesn't matter if you don't have your BME career together your freshman year of college, right?
No.
Like
No.
you can still graduate. You can still. I mean, both of you guys have a job in BME, and you did not start as BME freshmen.
Mm.
So that's good to know. That's good to know.
Hmm.
Um, so the next thing that we wanted to talk about is things you've learned, which I think what are some things that you wish you would have known in the beginning, starting out as a freshman or sophomore, that you know now. And there are obviously like a lot of things, but what are some like key points, that you would say, like you would tell somebody, kind of like we have somebody in the chat here. By the way, I just want to acknowledge Alexa Martinez, or Harry Potter, with the little cool sunglasses. Thanks for joining. Um, Thanks for watching, and thanks for commenting. We have Noor as well. She says, "Hello, I
Hi.
will start studying BME soon. Any advice for first year?" So I'm assuming Noor is in high school still, just graduated maybe, and she's about to start her first year as a BME. So that's already awesome that she is going straight into BME and is learning all about it here at the BME Life. Yeah. So Brenda, what can you tell Noor? How can you help her out?
So by no means I had the best transition in BME, but in hindsight and knowing what I know now, I would say whenever you come in, ask as many questions as you can, especially to your professors. And by that, not only I mean the course content, but also about them, because I found that I learn a lot and I get a lot of perspective from knowing other people's journey. So if you meet someone, a professor, or meet some speaker, a BME speaker that they bring in, or anyone that you have exposure to, ask them about their journey, or what do they do, how did how did they do in graduate school, where did they study, what did they study. Ask as many questions as you can, because just hearing different ways that you can go about a career, and the different ways that people like certain career pathways, that will enrich you a lot. So as soon as you come in, try to get to know your professors, be curious, research some things, look some things up on the internet. Just have an open mind, be ready to learn everything and anything, and don't get, and at the same time, don't be too hard on yourself. You're going there, and it's mostly whenever you go in there, you have to be open and don't put any hard expectations on yourself. Just be open, learn, and ask a lot of questions. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, ask a lot of questions and keep the curiosity. That is definitely true. I think for everything in life, don't be afraid, don't be shy. If you have a little bit of an accent, right, Brenda? Did you ever let your accent stop you? Sometimes,
I
maybe.
did. Mm, I didn't let anything stop me because I always thought that. I mean, in the end, I'm the one that wants to go forward. So whatever it takes, I just
I
keep on
love that.
onwards.
Man, I love Brenda's like courage in answering questions. Mary and I both know Brenda for a while already, and that's something that I always admire about Brenda. She like just answers with confidence all the time. But Mary, what do you have to say about um, advice you have or anything like that?
Um, well, I think Brenda's advice is really good, and it's actually a really important point that kind of goes with making connections also. Um, because I think networking and making connections will take you further than anything else. And I think it's really easy to, in the beginning, be very focused on your courses, learning the content that you need to learn to pass your classes. And that's good because you have to learn it. Um,
Mhm.
but the truth is that you're probably going to forget it in like by next semester or something. But what's going to be really valuable for you as a student is to, like Brenda said, talk to your professors, maybe even like talk to the older students, people that are seniors or juniors, like they
Mhm.
already have more experience than you do, and like you can always learn something from them. I think just like trying to understand the major is also very helpful. And you can only do that through other people's experiences, because that will maybe give you like a more clear path of what you want to do, because again, BME is so broad that sometimes you feel like you don't even know what you're going to do with it because you don't know what to focus on. So yeah, just like talking to other people, um, also remembering that everyone's struggling. You're not the only one.
Mhm.
Um, and I mean, I guess she's asking specifically for advice for first year, but like in the continuation of your career, just also be aware that experience is very important. So if you
Yeah.
should start looking at internships like as soon as you can, not to put any pressure on it. Like I don't want to be like you need an internship, but you do, you need some sort of experience. And especially if like Brenda said, if you're an international student, it may be a little bit harder. Like finding an internship and a job is already hard enough, and like if you have other obstacles adding to it, um, it might make it harder. But again, that's why like making connections can really help you out, in a way. Like you never know who you're gonna meet and how they're gonna help you. So, other than talking to professors, maybe also like attending seminars and things like that. Those are really good places to listen to what other people do. Maybe luncheons. I personally never attended any like luncheons, because I'm just a very shy person. But honestly, I should have. And I know Brenda, you had more experience, like actually being involved with like like SWE and
Mhm.
organizations like that. So, like, do you think that's something that helped you as well?
I think it did a lot because like you mentioned earlier, you need to have experience. And in this case, since we're talking about international students mostly, um, opportunities are limited as an international student. Uh, so you gotta have something on your plate. And my thinking in college is that I had to I had to gain experience, as much experience that I could on anything, and just finding an organization that you're passionate about and that you're curious about, and being a leader in that organization and being involved, that is something that you can gain a lot of experience on, and also you can put it on your resume, which is both ways, both a plus. And for the most part, that helps you network, that helps you communicate with people, that helps you um, sometimes talk about engineering language or the language pertaining to your career, if you're joining a career related club, or if not, it just gives you some practice talking to people, if in English, if that's your case, being as an international, or if you're a little bit more introverted, which, believe it or not, you may not believe it, but I am an introvert with a lot of practice, I would say. Um, yeah, so it's very worth it. I would recommend it, but at the same time, know what you're doing. If you're going to a place that, if you're going for a position in an organization that you know is not doing much, or you're going for a position that you know that that's a slacker position and you're not gonna do much, then it's not worth it. You have to be focused and know what you're doing and be intentful, um, and especially in an organization. So it's not just about joining. If you don't are not sure that you want to join one and you don't want to put in any work or gain any experience, then it sure will be a waste of time. But otherwise, you can gain a lot from it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I like that. I mean, I know you were part of SWE, which is Society of Women Engineers,
Hmm.
and I think you're like also just very involved in, one of your passions that the viewers might not know about is music as well,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah, it's a big passion.
yeah, so Brenda got very involved with like organizations in the university, even though she was an introvert, and
Yeah,
you
I
know,
can.
so but it's all about socializing and building relationships, and once you find your sort of like your friends that you guys can go do stuff together, it definitely makes things easier, I think. But I think as far as in Mary's case, she did not uh, get involved or attended any student organizations. I think one time we went to an ice cream social together, and that was like the only event that we went to like together.
Yeah.
That was like a university organization, like kind of event. And after that, Mary was like, "Peace, I'm out. This is not for me. I'm not about hanging out in a living room with 100 people." And I think it's we should acknowledge that that's okay.
Yeah,
That
definitely.
maybe you aren't okay with like seeing that many people in 3 hours. Like it freaks you out. But and Brenda, that worked out for you. Uh, for Mary, not really liking to be, in those kind of things, wouldn't get involved. But Mary, I mean, what did you do? I mean, I want you to talk about you meeting Dr. Bray.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, there's a lot of different ways that you can meet people. Again, just by talking to other students. And I think Dr. Ray was definitely the one of the only professors that I approached. Again, because I'm just like, you know, insecure, I guess. But I knew that I needed to make that step. Like I knew that approaching a professor was important if I wanted to get into a research lab, which was my goal at the time. So, and I had like previous, um, like not contact, but like I had met Dr. Bray before, just like randomly one time that I needed help at the BME department, and he was there, and like he helped me right away. Like he was like, "Everyone's busy, come, I'll help you." And it was something like not even related. It was like I wanted to know if I could take a class without having a prerequisite, but he helped me, and like from that moment, I could see that he was just very passionate about helping students, and I really like that. So I guess I saw that he was very approachable, and that's why I decided to go to him. But you can choose, any professor that you like, just like approach them. Some professors can be pretty intimidating sometimes, but some others are very nice, and like they actually expect you to come to them. They're not only there to teach you like technicalities, they're also there to like be a mentor if you let them and if they let you. So I think, yes, maybe I really didn't like the whole school organization deal. And not that I didn't like it, I don't know. I just never got involved with it. But there's like so many ways to like
Mm-hmm.
find something. Like it could be a professor, it could be just networking somewhere else, like going to like tours of like companies or things like that. I don't know. But yeah, that was at least my approach of like meeting someone, just like going directly to the professor. I think I emailed him first, then we set a meeting, and then I just said I'm interested in joining a lab, and then it worked out. And then Dr. Bray turned out to be like a really good mentor, and just like again always like asking like, do you want help finding an internship, do you need help, like just let me know. Like, and that's really the kind of people that you know I think universities like to have in their faculty. So probably most professors will be like that. Again, like they'll probably just waiting for you to knock on their door and help you in any way that they can. So yeah,
Yeah, and shout out to Dr. Bray because
yes.
yeah, like you said, we need more people to be guides and to be advocates and supporters of students in general. So I really appreciate that, and he's a great person. And I think uh, us as people that are from two culture, like came from another culture to the U.S. and that are living things for the first time in our families, think we can be that kind of person to someone else or many other people. We can be that person that goes out of their way to help someone out, and anyone can be that kind of person. And yeah, I hope that inspires someone else to just give a helping hand to someone else. And
Mhm.
yeah, another thing that you said, yeah, professors are not gatekeepers, or shouldn't be, but most of the time they're not. They're just normal people. And I definitely was scared most of the time that I was in undergrad. I was scared to talk to professors. And we have a mutual friend, Josh, that he said he would just knock on the professor's door with no appointment and come in and ask them questions, right? So maybe some of us that are a little bit more shy and like more cautious, like trying to be respectful, need to learn a little bit more of that. Like they're there to help you and they're not gonna bite or anything. Sometimes you just need to knock on the door, be a little bit more open and look out for yourself, because in the end, you could use their help to get an internship, learn more about the course, or I don't know, get some chat to get inspired on the career or anything, right? So let's not be too afraid to talk to professors. But I was
Yes.
guilty of
Yeah.
that, and if I hadn't been too shy to talk to them, I could have probably yeah, saved a lot of trouble for myself. So yeah, I'm
Yeah. And
giving
I
that
think
advice to
this
my sister. Sorry.
no, that's perfect, and I think the same could be said for Mary. There's a lot of times where she was like, "Ah, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it," and I'm like, Mary, just go. Mary, like you have nothing to worry about. Like you're gonna
Yeah.
walk in that door, and he's gonna be like, "How can I help you? Please sit down." And Mary's like, "No, no, no." So the nervousness, I understand, but yeah, I mean, I think Josh is like, a total boss. Just like I walk in, I knock on the door. I don't care if they're busy. I'm gonna walk in and ask for an
Yeah.
internship. Like, I mean, obviously that's not how he did it, but really that's the attitude that we got to have. It's like, hey, part of every professor's job is to help the student succeed, not just learn the material.
Yeah.
So you like bug him. If he hasn't replied to your 15 emails, send him email number 16. Like, hi, professor. Like, I was wondering if you had some free time, so we can talk about possibly any internship opportunities that you know about, or research labs that you know about. Like, just be persistent. They're eventually going to get annoyed and, let you in on one of their office hours. And real quick, I just wanted to show some of the people that are joining the chat. We have Paola, which is the
Hola,
Hola.
Pao.
she's part of Mary, Brenda, and Paola are the three musketeers of BME in my eyes.
She's part of us.
Yeah, and we
It's
also
weird.
have and Noor just wanted to thank you guys for those
Yeah, hi.
questions. And we're about to get into talking about what your job is currently like.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to talk that much about it, but I kind of have a question here from someone named Mohammed. um, is it better to turn to medical field as doctor or stay in biomedical? So I'm guessing that they want to go into the medical field. They're wondering if they should do it as a doctor or a biomedical engineer. So we don't have to go into detail with this question because it's a very broad question. None of us are
Yeah.
doctors or going into medical school. Um, but just like if you could answer it in one sentence, how would you answer it? We want to start with Brenda and then go to Mary.
It depends on your goals. First, if you have an engineering degree, you you're not ready to be a doctor yet. You have to do the 4 years of MD. But if you want to be both a doctor and an engineer, you can do an MD PhD, which is really hard, but of course a PhD in engineering, and so that you can practice medicine, but also help develop medical devices, designs both at the same time. So, but that's another animal. So that's what I would say.
Mary, what's your
Yeah,
take?
I think I mean it's definitely a hard question. It's up to you and like what you see
Yeah.
yourself doing. But I also understand that, maybe you're in high school or you're barely starting college. How am I supposed to know what I want to do? So I
Yeah.
think you can, I mean, I guess it depends where you go to school, but at least in the US, like um I don't think you could go wrong with just going into BME because you still need a degree, like a bachelor's degree anyway, to go into medical school. So I would say just go to BME. Your alternatives are like a biology degree or like a biomedical science degree if you want to go into medical school. So, I mean, just do BME if you like it and you really like the engineering part. You can stick with it. Or if you're like, no, I want to care for patients, I want to do surgeries and things like that, then go to medical school. And that you can also do what Brenda said, do an MD PhD program, which is like for the most ambitious people in this world probably, but it's I think it's an amazing program. And yeah, like I would say just try, whatever feels right, and like there's no shame in realizing that you don't like something. So yeah, just do what your heart tells you. I don't know.
Do what your heart tells you. That is perfect advice. But Mohammed, thanks for your question. You got another one. We'll get to that one later. But we got Harry Potter in the chat asking, ¿qué es lo que más les gustó de la carrera de BME?
Oh.
So, both of you guys graduated. That, to anybody who doesn't speak Spanish, what's the thing you liked most about the BME experience. Um, what can you guys tell me about your favorite part of BME?
Sorry, someone walked in.
Oh, it's
I
okay.
got a little bit distracted. But I don't know. I just really like the application of engineering because in the end, BME it's an application of engineering principles. So how cool is that you can do some engineering modeling with um, like calculus equations or really you know model how veins or arteries distribute the flow of blood, like just the fact that you're applying an engineering principle to the human body, that's just crazy, and it's really, I don't know, inspiring. So that's what I liked, and I like the interdisciplinariness of it, so I really enjoyed that.
Hmm. All right. Cool.
Yeah,
Mary?
I agree with Brenda. And also, it's kind of like it feels like you get the best out of both worlds of like biology and science, and then like engineering. And yeah, I mean, what I like the most of the program, like I don't know, like I wanted to say that sometimes now that we're entering the professional world, um, it's really easy to start comparing ourselves, or at least myself, like to like other kinds of engineering, like
Yeah.
mechanical engineers. And then you hear about companies preferring mechanical engineering or electrical engineering sometimes, and you start to doubt sometimes, like, dang, was BME really the right choice? But then really like thinking about it and looking back, like I wouldn't change my major, because I think BME is really like a beautiful career. Like learning
Hmm.
about engineering and being able to apply it to, learning about the body is just like crazy. And you really start seeing everything differently, and your mind is just like different. And even as you go into industry and you start learning about medical devices, for example, you start
Hmm.
looking around and looking at other devices or other products, and you start realizing that there's so much going backstage, like from like initial concept of an idea to like research to like marketing, like just like learning about the whole biomedical application of engineering is like, it's crazy. So yeah, I think my favorite thing about BME is just that it's a beautiful career because it combines biology and other sciences, which is just amazing to learn about, and then like engineering, which is just like thinking and creating and just learning so much and solving problems. So, and you get to help people with that. So I think that's
Hmm.
really cool to do.
Yeah, no, it's perfect. And I like how you mentioned, being afraid that maybe companies prefer mechanical engineers or other type of engineers over BMEs. But you find that the opportunities are still going to be there for BMEs. And you guys have jobs as, you know, BME, biomedical engineers. So that's inspiring, and especially we have like the main reason for having Brenda on the show, you know, 2020 BME graduate, and in the middle of the coronavirus, the global pandemic. I hope everyone's wearing a mask, like all this craziness, I want to know, or we want to know, like, because you got a job, graduated in June, and you just recently got your job at the end of June or at the beginning of July.
It was the end of June. I was talking to the company a little bit before that. Um, and I mean, I've been applying for jobs honestly since last year, Last year I started just kind of to get to know the process of applying for jobs and finding what works, what doesn't work, and just getting my feet wet. But yeah, I got the offer. I don't know. I interviewed 1 week before I started, and then they told me, okay, you can start soon, because the need for a position was there, and I was right on in time to get it. But okay, sorry, what was your question again?
Yeah, no. So I guess we want to know, like, or Mary and me are wondering, like, what's your job like right now? I mean, we know that it was crazy applying to it, and I think we have a question
Yeah.
afterwards for that. But your current job, you're a quality engineer at the company called Xenex, right, or Xenex?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Um,
just said it right the first time,
yeah,
I think.
cool. So
I'm not too sure myself.
so what's it like, being a quality engineer there?
Okay, yeah, I can answer to you that first by saying, um, I never thought I would be a quality engineer, but the reason I'm here right now is because I had 1 year of an internship as a quality engineer intern. Um,
Mm,
and it was never in my plans to do that, since it's not a career path that they tell you about in school. It's really obscure. Most people want design or manufacturing, if anything, but most people mostly want R&D. Um, but I came across that internship, and that gave me a lot of insight, a lot of inspiration, um, for pursuing a quality career. Um, and whenever I interviewed, that's what they saw. And now that I'm here, uh, yeah, it's really it's really nice to be a quality engineer, because mostly what it is about is what it says, providing a quality product. And in that, it involves many aspects, not only in the aspect of design, but also in the aspect of production. So as a quality engineer, you can do many, many, many things. Actually, quality can be multiple positions. In this case, I'm part of a very small quality team, but that's what I like, because I perform the aspects from design and then production. So what I mean by that is that for design, you need to make sure that your design is robust, is reviewed by the right people, and that it it meets the specifications that it should. And then for production, you gotta make sure that the product is made correctly, and any deviations in making the product correct are corrected. And that's very broad and all, but to give you a better perspective of what I do, I can describe what I've been doing this last week. So what I did, so it's kind of like a day in the life of a quality engineer. As part of
nice.
design, I was developing a traceability matrix for a product that they're starting to launch right now. And
Wow.
that involves looking at the specifications of the product, kind of asking yourself what are the standards and the regulations that the company has to comply with, and the design has to comply with, what kind of tests need to be done, who is responsible for making that test, and the traceability matrix is kind of like a spreadsheet that makes sure that every aspect of design is accounted for, and every aspect of the requirements that that design needs to meet are accounted for. So I was doing that. Another thing that involves design is something called an engineering change order. So these are really common in product development, at least in my experience in medical device. And what this is that whenever your engineers design something, you need to make sure that this is checked by quality, by engineering, by production, because that's where you know where the problems are. So that process of reviewing the design and approving it, that process is monitored by quality. And right now I've been involving in making that process. I've been involved in making that process more effective. And um, yeah, that can be done in many ways. It's just, I don't know how much detail I can give. um, and then as far as production goes, uh, in Cenex they actually manufacture product. Before my previous experience, it was more R&D based. So now I have more experience working with the actual product, which is great. So what I've been doing is monitoring production. And something that quality engineers do is tracking non-conformances. And what that means is that whenever, and that can happen at any stage of of production. So whenever your components of your product come in, you need to make sure that the suppliers are delivering quality product, or products that meet the specifications that the engineering gave them. And that is done by doing receiving inspections. So making sure that so what I said before, making sure each part has certain dimensions, meet certain criteria, they have their certificates that they are made of this material, or that the supplier uh, did its best. And then you have several ways to evaluate whether that part is good or bad. And then if there's a non-conformance, so if the product is not supposed to be, if the component is not how it's supposed to be, you have to do an analysis on why that happened, and whether the supplier needs to correct it, or whether it's a design issue and the designers need to correct that.
Hmm.
And then that can be done. So that was on the beginning of the process, but that can happen maybe while they're assembling the device. So if while they're assembling something fails, you need to evaluate why it failed, how it failed, why it failed, who's responsible to correct it, and how can we make sure this doesn't happen again. And then,
So,
go
oh
ahead.
yeah, no. So I mean, from what it like, so you're basically um, in charge, or like, overseeing all aspects of the production of the device. You're there from the beginning to the end, making sure that everything is arriving correctly, that everything is to the dimension from the suppliers. You're checking the quality of that as it's being
Hmm.
produced. You're checking the quality on that everything is being done right. So you're kind of like overseeing the whole production of a product, right?
Yeah, overseeing the whole the product development side, and then the production, because it has to be, you have to make sure everything is balanced. If the design is not documented properly or done considering all the requirements, and so that can translate into a lot of problems in production. Or even if it's done right, if that design is not documented and translated correctly, then production will have problems. And then production has its own problems uh, that it can have, uh, like with non-conformant product, or just processes that can be improved. So your quality is there to enforce that that you produce a quality product. And yeah, that everything runs smoothly in essence. And those are the there's much more to quality, and that's why I love it so much, because it's very interdisciplinary. But that's the main things that I've been working on right now. And yeah, it's to me it's very very interesting. It's like I said, I really like interdisciplinary. So I think it's a suiting position for me, at least for now.
Yeah, yeah.
No, that sounds like
Mary.
a really interesting position, because you like get to. Sorry,
It's okay.
dog is barking. Um, but yeah, like just being able to be exposed to like different stages of like the product, that's like really interesting because you get to see a lot of things, not just like focus on one area and like you never get to see what happens after that. Like
Yeah.
it's like you're almost like um, the checkpoint that every step of the way like needs, I guess. But that sounds really cool.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, it's a really obscure position. I would have never considered it if I hadn't had that internship experience that opened my eyes to, okay, there's more than R&D, there's more than
Mm-hmm.
manufacturing. But with that being said, uh, what I've found is that quality is one of those black or white positions that
Mm-hmm.
either people will not like it, it's not for them, or people are really good at it and they really like it. That's what I've been seeing in the industry and with the people that I've talked to, and I can see why. It's sometimes it's a very hard position to be in depending on the culture of your company, because in the end you are there, you're the one that says, okay, this is not acceptable, you have to do it again, or you have to do it differently, or you have to do this in basically you have to be the one pointing the ugly. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes people don't like that, and engineering doesn't like that, production doesn't like that, maybe the people above there not doesn't don't like that, because um, a person, okay, so that's just quality's job. But if a person is not, okay, I would say that a good quality person is one that knows how to uphold those high standards while not hindering the company's efforts, right? Because you can't be you have to understand the whole company and the whole processes and the regulations, and understand how you can balance everything so that you're not hindering design, or you're not hindering production, but also you're not letting everything be loose and
Mm-hmm.
wild, right? So
Yes.
it's a very interesting position, and you can definitely get in that as a biomedical engineer. Any major can do it actually, but I think it's really special that someone with a biomedical engineering background gets in there as a quality engineer, especially as quality engineer in medical devices, because whenever in a BME curriculum you learn about biomaterials, like how the body reacts to different materials. You learn about well, instrumentation. You learn about physiology. So you learn about all these conditions and all these things that you have to, all these limitations that the human body has, and that you must not get out of those limitations or something bad will happen. So that really translates well into a quality position, especially in medical device, because you understand that your actions in design and your actions in whatever stage of a product um, can impact the user. So I think it really translates well.
That's a really good point. I was going to ask, are there like other quality engineers at your level in your team, or is it kind of like people above or below you that are in there?
So the quality system. Okay, let me see. In my company, I am a quality engineer, and in that case, it will be kind of junior level. But then there's a quality manager, which is above me, of course. And in this case, there's no other engineer in my level, but there's quality inspectors, which would be the ones that are doing the inspections of the incoming parts and the inspections of the outgoing product. And so I don't, I mean, I don't like saying anyone's below me, but that would be kind of the hierarchy. There's a quality manager that oversees um, the whole quality system or quality department, and then you have quality engineers that help you break down kind of the tasks, and then the inspectors that follow the quality procedures for inspections and incoming inspections, outgoing and inspections for outgoing product, and That would be kind of the hierarchy. But yeah, it's a small quality department because the engineers would be only the manager and myself. So, and that's how usually it is. There's less quality people than the rest of the company.
We
Oh, I
can.
was
Yeah.
Oh,
muted.
yeah.
Sorry about that. No, so that's cool. I think I didn't know that about quality engineers, and it's pretty cool to know that hierarchy. I'm going to turn on a light because it's getting dark, and I didn't have any lights turned on in my room. But Brenda, thank you for allowing us to learn a little bit more about your job. And we do have, I know we've been here for a while, and we don't want to take away too much of your Sunday. Um, but we're going to move into a couple of questions we got from our Instagram. Um, so these can be kind of answered pretty fast, or I mean, however long it takes, it really doesn't matter. But we're going to move into our Instagram questions now. And the first one, talking about quality engineers, um, there's Hope Vasquez asked, do you have a certification in quality? If so, how did you get it? If not, how did you get the job? I feel like you already talked about this in what you just said, but if you want to just kind of give her a clear answer, just
Yeah.
so we can, have it for the
Yeah.
record.
Well, yeah, thanks, Hope, for your question. I do not have any certification for quality. I actually looked into it, but turns out I think I have to have at least 5 years of experience to be able to take a test to get that certification. Right now, this is not the case. I just graduated. I have 1 year of experience, um, but I don't even know if that it would count since it wasn't at a professional level or engineer level. You can get a certification from ASQ, American Society of for Quality, and then, or you can get sometimes if you go to A&M or UT or any schools, they have a graduate program or post. So they have a certification program that you can only take if you were in undergrad there or if you're taking graduate school there, and you can get a certification as a quality engineer. Just look into your school if they do that or not. So yeah, that's how you would do it. How I got the job is just I had quality experience from my internship. I really made sure I learned a lot of the aspects of quality. So whenever I was at the interview, I really let them know that I am passionate about quality and that I understand the processes and the importance that quality of things in quality engineering. Sorry, I got a little bit of scrambled, but yeah, that's the answer for that one.
Perfect. All right. And all right, cool. So I'm gonna allow myself back on the chat here. Perfect. Okay, that was a great answer. We have another question from engineer like Uche, and she asked, "What was your most helpful resource for scholarships as an international student?"
Sorry, my phone is about to die. That's why I'm scrambling.
No worries. It's all right.
So, what was my biggest resource for scholarships? That's actually I cannot answer that very well because uh yeah, it's very hard to get scholarships as internationals. But usually the university should have a international office, and they have posted resources on scholarships. And but another thing, look into your local college, so College of Engineering or College of Sciences. Look into the local college; they might have opportunities for undergraduate research or any kind of or contest research things like that. They have grants or mini scholarships that you can apply for, one-time scholarships, one-time grants. So, for example, I did research. They gave me $1,000 for performing research for two semesters or one semester. Or I forget how much they gave me, but around that. So look out for those small scholarships, small grants that they give. That you don't have to be a U.S. citizen, you don't have to be a permanent resident. And also, if you need like I don't know, a quick buck or something, sometimes they have posted in the boards that if you do this research questionnaire or if you join this research study, I'll give you $50. So that comes in handy. I did some of those as well when I needed money.
I
Um,
see Mary smiling. It looks like she's done some of those quick buck scholarships where you have to be part of a research like for an hour and they'll give you like $50 or something.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I never did that, but I remember Brenda talking about them. So it was just it's very interesting. Like I did look into them, and it's just like really cool. But I never actually like went out of my way to do it. But I mean, you should
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah, I mean, be prepared for anything if you do it. And one of them, they put me a cap and they put gel on the cap, so I had gel in, and they measured my brain, not measured, but they tracked my brain waves, and it's pretty interesting. You'll never have a dull moment if you do
All right. Cool. And Mary, what about you? What would you point, to being a helpful resource for scholarships as an international? I mean, you're not an international student, but do you have a website off of the top of your head that you can think of, like?
No, I mean, not for international students, because I guess I just never really looked into it. But I mean, if there's any people here that are not international students, um, if you're in Texas, there's this scholarship called STARS, like star, but in plural. That it's actually like they don't really require like crazy things, and like I got it in my first semesters. I think they give it to you for like a few semesters. I forgot how many. So you can look into that. But if not, like just applying to like like the ones from the school that you are in, and like Brenda said, I also got like a research scholarship, and that's something that's really cool to do because you not only get a scholarship, you get research experience. So it's like you get really like two benefits. So that's really cool.
it.
But also, I think this is something really important, like just like knowing like where can I go for resources. I guess I'm just gonna make a quick plug that we're actually working on a website. It's gonna be the bmelife.com, and one of the things that we expect to have there is just like resources for a lot of things. And I think we'll definitely do our research and try to put as many resources as we can for international students or just like um, people in the US. But yeah, so just be in the lookout for that because I think that'll be very helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and quick note on that again. Yeah, something that I had in mind is that whenever, so if you want to find resources like that, one thing that you can do is reach out to other international students that attended that university that you plan to attend or that are attending, and reach out to them. Ask them questions like what resources did you use to get money, to get an internship, to get a job. Just ask questions to people that went through a path similar than yours. So probably use LinkedIn for that. Just do a quick search and yeah, hopefully that would be a way to get that information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, that's so true. All levels of that, and yeah, like Mary said, be on the lookout for the bmelife.com website. It's launching soon. Actually, you can search it up right now. There'll be some stuff on there, but we're still working on it. But yeah, the bmelife.com. We have another question. This one is from Jesse Bile at Jesse Bile. she asked what kind of skills are important to have for a biomedical engineer. And these are kind of like, we can do these, sort of in like one or two sentences. Starting with Brenda, what would you say is the most important skill?
I cannot say most important. SolidWorks is a pretty good one.
SolidWorks.
Yeah, if you know how to code anything like MATLAB or Python, that would be great. If you know how to use any statistics tools, that would be great as well. But that depends on where you want to go. But just as long as you have some skills, that's gonna be great. But SolidWorks is always a great one. Sorry, one I know you said two sentences. One more thing, may, uh, look at some jobs. If you have any idea of any jobs that you want to have in the future, look at what those jobs, as the skills needed are, and then look at those skills, and yeah, probably you'll find, oh, you need SolidWorks, MATLAB, or anything, Minitab. So if, if you want ideas, just look at job postings and look at those skills that you might need.
Yeah, Mary.
Yeah, I agree with Brenda. It really depends with, what your interests are, also what you see yourself doing in the future. And again, I guess it can also be hard to know what you want to do. But any skills are good. SolidWorks, any coding, um, maybe even like what's it called? Like circuitry, or I don't want to say robotics, but just like learning about how to put a circuit board together and things like that. But I think also it's really important to not forget about like soft skills. Any hard skill, like any like technical skill is like really good. And again, it depends on what you want to do. But soft skills are also important to like work on while you're a student. And it's just like um organization, time management, teamwork, leadership. Those are really good skills that you can develop either in your projects or just like by working with like school organizations and things like that. So yeah, I think that's my answer.
Cool. Perfect. And next from Aya Zairi. You guys probably won't remember, but she asked, how many hours of the day would you spend studying as a BME? So guesstimate, you don't have to do an exact, but I mean, I guess this is also kind of just asking, does it require a lot of studying or not? How many hours usually average per week did you guys study? Um, yeah.
Not to say anyone, but I mean, if you're studying an engineering career, be prepared to put as much time as possible. You know, maybe yeah. Some days you can take off. Sometimes some days you won't do anything. You won't study uh, at all, right? Because you want to have fun too. But most of the days, be prepared to give as much time as it takes. For me, it really varied. Um, Sometimes it would be 5 hours after school, 4 hours, sometimes two, sometimes none. It's really hard to put a number on it. What about you, Medi? I don't see Adrian.
Yeah, I think he's still here monitoring, but he just exited the screen. But yeah, I think for me, I was really bad at like time management. So I would tend to just leave everything, well, specifically studying, I would always leave it to like the day before most of the time. So that would make me like probably spend the whole day studying. Um, but because I just left it last minute, you know but I don't know. It's definitely more demanding than other majors, for sure. Like there's no question. Like I can say that because Adrian is a marketing major, and I know that he can study like 2 hours before the exam and ace the exam. Meanwhile, in engineering, like there's been cases where I studied the whole night before. I like slept till like super late, woke up in the morning to study, and I still got a 70, 60 in the test. So you're gonna have days like that, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely demanding. It's not impossible. Like, don't think BME, you're gonna be in the library like every day, all day. Like, it's not like that. But it does require dedication, and I guess we each know ourselves, and like you just should learn to get to know yourself, and like how much time is required for you to study, and also more than time, like what's your method of studying. Sometimes you need time to study on your own, sometimes you need to study with other people. So yeah, I think those are important things to consider.
Yep. So, Mary, I appreciate you calling me out, saying that marketing majors have it easy and that they suck. But that's not true. Even though there is an official list of the top like 100 hardest majors, engineering is like number 5, and marketing is like number 52 or something like that. So
Number
uh,
one.
just to be clear, I didn't say marketing sucked, I just said that engineering is more demanding.
you basically said marketing sucks. So I'm just gonna take it like that. I'm gonna take it personally. Um, but so we have another question. It is tips, and I mean this sounds like sounds kind of funny, but tips on how to convince recruiters for the job, being an international student. Brenda, I know you mentioned you were speaking with recruiters. What was your experience like? Convincing them. And by the way, this question is from, I forgot what her name was, but her username is NTNQ2000 on Instagram. What can you tell us about this?
Uh, a little bit long, but I know I definitely feel the way that they ask the question. How can you convince the recruiter? Because really, international students are have it really hard. Um, and in this case, mine is a very co- complex and rare international student status. But for them, and it doesn't apply to me in this case. But for the most part, it is really hard for regular international students to get jobs. So it really sometimes it boils down to convincing. And but the reality is that most companies have already set their mind whether they want to hire international students or not. Because for doing that, they need to have an e-verify number. They have to have some sort of process and status with the person that handle immigration and not immigration, sorry, student visas and working like foreign workers. And I don't want to give too much information on this because I don't know how accurate it is. I have a general idea, but I don't want to give that information. But usually, companies already know whether they want an international or not, and that's the hard reality. So what I advise you to do is before you come, if you have the opportunity before coming to the US, find a place, find a university and a place that you know there will be more opportunities for international students. You can do that by researching, by asking questions with people. And if you're already an international student in X or Y university, in whatever city, reach out to people from the same university that are international students and reach out to the international student office or department uh, because there's few companies that have opportunities for internationals and yeah normally you cannot convince anyone. It's a matter of either the option is there or not. um, and yeah, I mean, I wish I could give you more on this, but that's what I know about this at this point. And in my opinion, it's much better to reach out to other people with similar experiences. And just keep looking different positions, keep researching, and keep your mind open. Um, if you didn't plan to move outside a certain city, maybe you have to move to a different part of the country, or maybe you have to really evaluate a lot of options. But yeah, so sorry, sometimes you can. But I definitely feel the question: how can you convince? That's yeah. I found myself in that position before.
Yeah, no, and like you said, sometimes it's just a matter of the of sort of like the rules or policies that the company is going to have, right? That you have no control over, no matter how much you can talk to the recruiter and be like, but hey, I have this much experience and all that stuff. Like, I guess if the company doesn't have a policy for international students specifically, or international like student graduates specifically, um, I guess there's really nothing you can do. It's just like looking up at companies who have those opportunities, right?
And in that case, well, it's bigger companies have more opportunities for international students, but then you have that obstacle that everyone else does. It's harder for international students, but you have that obstacle that big companies are really hard to get into because there's a lot of applications. And yeah, just reaching out to your network and researching the opportunities beforehand, like where is a good place to study as an international student, a place where I can get a job. Um, if you can look at it with as much as anticipation as possible, that'd be best. And yeah, it's really tough to find a job as internationals right now. I understand how difficult it is, how difficult the current political situation has been on international students, and um, I support them, and my heart reaches out to those people, and I hope just keep looking, don't give up. You'll find something if you keep pushing, and uh, yeah, there will be maybe in the end maybe it won't be an opportunity in the U.S. Maybe it could be in another country, but there will be if you're hardworking, if you are open minded, you'll find something. So just keep pushing, and you'll get there. I can't hear anything.
Sorry. There we go. Sorry, I keep forgetting it's muted. That's great advice. We have another question from Irfan, and he's asking, how did she manage to get a job with both the pandemic and being a foreigner, which I feel like you've already answered somewhat, but you know how has it been, like, first of all, with the whole social distancing thing? Was like the interview process and all that stuff like different? Was it like uncomfortable or something? Did you shake hands? How
No,
was that?
no, no. It's weird. It's going into an interview with a mask on, or doing a Zoom interview. Um, yeah, I mean, I didn't shake. It feels weird to go in an interview and not shake hands. Yeah, that was really hard. And as far as how did I manage to get those offers, just like I said, reach out to your network. Um, I put my LinkedIn as open for recruiters. I make sure it's updated. Uh, I try to look up for jobs in many, just thinking outside the box. Oh, how can I find certain jobs? Oh, well, I'm gonna do this Google search with these keywords, or I'm gonna go to LinkedIn and put these keywords and see what pops up and see if I things like that. So just having a little bit, finding ways to pop into an opportunity, and that and just it worked out for me, thankfully. But yeah, it's been weird. Interview with masks and no weird, but
I keep forgetting my microphone though, and I know, besides the fact that the whole social distancing and everything going on, there's also a lot of companies that have frozen like hiring,
yeah,
during this time. So it's really cool that you found that there was a company that was hiring, because a lot of them are kind of like putting hiring on hold. So
yeah. And one advice, well, one piece of advice that I can give is that you may think that okay, that the only way to get a job is to to apply directly to the company, but there's staffing companies, there's companies that are kind of intermediate that you can apply. They're called talent companies or staffing companies. You and they have a lot of recruiters that help position people into different companies. They're basically the customer is essentially the company, and you're kind of the product, and in some sort of way you're the customer as well. But you're mainly the product for the company, and those are called contractor jobs. Sometimes they give you contracts for 6 months, a year. Sometimes it's contract for some time, and then you get into the company full time. But I would recommend, if you're looking for a job right now, try reaching out to those staffing companies. Um, yes, of course, because they're an intermediate, uh, the pay wouldn't be as big as if you were a direct hire. But well, if in different times and in different circumstances, you gotta consider uh, different opportunities, right? And if something allows you to open a door, and if something allows you to get a job, then you have to consider it. So I would recommend reaching out to staffing companies. There's small ones, but there's big ones like Aerotech, which I don't want to do free advertisement, but Aerotech is a pretty big one that has a lot of engineering positions. So just look into that. Um, yeah, have an open mind.
My microphone. No, that's perfect. um, well, Brenda, I know we've had you on here for a while, but there is just one more question, and I promise this is the last one. This is from Cora Natel, and again, I feel like some of this you've answered already, but if in a couple of sentences you can just tell us what you like most about your job and maybe what introduced you to BME. But I feel like it was like those, BME students in one of your classes.
Yeah.
Um, but what's one thing you would say that you like about being a quality engineer?
Well, I like that you have to have that vision in the end that the product is gonna go to to a person, and that person is paying for something that has to be well made, well produced, and you can't cut corners. Whenever you're doing design or production, you have to have that integrity that, okay, I must do things right even if no one's watching, or I must do things right even if it's a little bit more time consuming, because in the end it's worth it. And particularly in medical device, you are working with pacemakers that are gonna go inside a person, and you don't want anything to go wrong with that. So just having that vision and that responsibility that it's in your hands, that well built product is gonna go to the customer. That's something that I love. And also I just love being an engineer. It's great. It's great to to just, I don't know, um, I feel like women have to be more in engineering positions. It's worth it, and you feel proud that you know what you're doing, and that you can make decisions, and I love being an engineer.
That's very true, and definitely more women in engineering. If you're still watching and you're a woman looking to be an engineer, go into STEM, anything, shout out to you. We salute you here at the BME Life. And I just wanted to hear from Mary as well. Mary, what's your favorite part about what you do right now as an engineer? And what introduced you to BME?
Um, okay, so what introduced me to BME? I think Well, when I first heard about BME, it was initially from let me remember. Oh yeah, it was someone who told me about the career, really. Um, so I just thought it was really interesting because, you know, it has medicine and engineering, which I related to math, and I always liked
Mhm.
math, so I was like, let's just do that. So, you know, that's really what introduced me to it. And what I currently like about my job, well, I guess my title is like a product development intern. I'm still an intern, so I guess it would be a little bit different if I was like an official engineer. Um, but I really like it, specifically where I work because it's a startup, so it's like a very small, like very very small environment, and I like it because I get to wear a lot of hats, and at the same time you have like a close, like, I guess relationship with, you know, the people running the company or trying to create, you know, a company. I mean, it's already a company, but just trying to put this product in the market. So you not only get to, you know, see the different processes that it takes to, you know, put a medical device in the market, but not just the engineering, but you also get to learn more about the business and just like all the obstacles that come their way. So I guess you get to learn a little bit more of the entrepreneurial side, which I'm not really sure if that's something I would ever go into. I mean, there's still, you know, anything is possible, but just learning about something different is good, and it just makes you, you know, learn about other things and just be more aware of, you know, what goes on backstage. And I think that's something that's really cool about engineering, that you get to see what goes on backstage. Like, you know, as consumers, people see the products, but as engineers, you're working on the manufacturing, on the quality, on the regulatory, you know, on all these things of what it takes to put this product
Mhm.
in your hands. So I think that's really cool about engineering, and specifically if you apply it to like the medical field, it's even cooler.
Yeah, that's the bottom line for me. That's why I love BME, because in the end you can relate it to medical devices, which is, I mean, I don't know, helping people have a better life. It's just great. It's just
Yeah.
what I know.
Cool. Cool. So perfect. With that, we will conclude this conversation. I want to thank everybody who joined us, first of all, and a very special and big thank you to Brenda. Thank you for taking the time out of your day, you know, to join us on this conversation and, you know, give advice to everybody watching, answer all their questions. Thank you for your patience. I think we went overboard a little bit, you know, from what we were expecting. Uh, we were expecting it to last, you know. So thank you for being here, and yeah, I'm confident that there's going to be a lot of people who learned and are going to take something away from like hearing you, you know, hearing what you said and your experience and your advice. So I just want to thank you a lot. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here, and I'm so happy that your project, Medi, and well, your project has grown a lot. And you have put a lot of work into it, and you found really a group of people that are in need of the work that you and Adrian are doing. And yeah, I'm very happy um, that your channel is inspiring people, is helping people, and yeah, keep it up. It's gonna grow a lot, especially with that motivation and that hard work and that creativity. Just wish you both the best.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, wish everyone that pursues BME the best. In the end, it's what you make of it, and you cannot follow any templates or people can tell you that you have to do this and that, but everyone has their own journey, and Nothing is black and white, and you can figure things out. Just keep going.
That's beautiful. Woo. All right, cool. Well, I think with that, we conclude the BME Live podcast, episode 7. Mary, anything else you'd like to add before we log out here?
Well, I was actually gonna say that it's funny because when Adrian and I were initially talking about, doing this podcast with Brenda, we were like, yeah, let's limit it to like 30-40 minutes because we want to keep it short. We don't want to make anyone wait too long or things like that. But then, so I was thinking, like, yeah, I'll text Brenda, like, we're going to try to keep it short. But then I was just thinking about the things that we were going to talk about. And I was like, like, all the things that we're planning on talking about are very valuable, I think, information. So, yeah, I think we did go a little bit too long. But, I hope, Brenda, that, you didn't have anything crazy to do, but we're so happy that you gave up your Sunday evening to like share your experience with people watching right now or people watching at later times. And yeah, it's just awesome always to have someone share their experience and just inspire someone, because I'm pretty sure a lot of people will either learn something or just be inspired, and that's really what we're trying to do here. So thank you, Brenda.
Thank you both. Have a great evening.
Thank
All
you.
right, you too.